All right, Peter Murphy, hello. Welcome to season 2 of One Chimp and Friends. Jake says he's ready, so I hope he's entering into
a lot has happened.
Yeah. How are you doing? Of course, I just saw you yesterday, but
I know. I'm holding it together. Everything's fine. I'm holding it together. I mean, a lot has happened since the last time. But I'm holding it together. I'm rethinking my life, and I think, it was just everything has just been one big mistake. I definitely put the money on the wrong horse. Let's just say that. Should have gone to Nigeria.
Nigeria. You could have gotten. Could have gotten.
I got offered a job in Equatorial Guinea teaching Spanish laborers on an oil tanker English. I think I got offered 2,000 sterling a month, but everything was paid for. So it was like everything was take home, and you wouldn't have to spend any money because you were on site the whole time. And then after a year, you just go home and collect that money.
Yeah, I was going to suggest if if it's Equatorial Guinea or Nigeria, you'd be better off getting a job in the E&P, oil and gas sector. The publishing company that I was working with, they send projects there every year, but those are terrible places to live when you're a Mazunga, when you're a white guy. It's not the place to live. There's a lot of good times to be had there, but it's also really dangerous, high level of police corruption. And at the end of the day, things are fabulously expensive in places like Nigeria and Equatorial Guinea.
In Lagos, very expensive.
Yeah.
But the whole thing, the great thing about that job was you were on site, so they had a compound for you.
Yeah.
You didn't pay for anything. Then you just got you didn't even get the boat to the oil rig. They would come to the compound, and there was a place for you to give lessons.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's no life. I mean, like I said, I avoided Africa as much as I could. And I couldn't dodge the bullet. Like once I started the nonprofit, it's just like there is different tiered pricing. So if you, for example, were living in a place like that, you would have a lot of stuff subsidized for you. But in real life, once you left the compound, for example, there would be a two-tiered pricing. You would find that you pay more for things that regular African folks are not paying that price for. So it is what it is.
There's tiered pricing here now too in Turkey.
Well, right. It's happening here. We've got official estimates of inflation at plus 30%, but really it's 50% for most everything. So Jake is slow to connect. I just updated my Zoom. Haven't had a reason to use Zoom in many months, and so naturally there's that.
Oh, I'm online doing lessons, so I'm always updating it.
Is that right?
Yeah, and if it wasn't for those lessons, man, I don't know where I'd be in life right now. Really.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that message regarding the pay rise, because it's actually supposed to be more than that, the law.
Oh, I know. And the way that it was phrased, like it was supposed to be some good news, like we were supposed to like dance in the street. But I was like, I was actually thinking about just like my response should be just to leave the group. Like Peter Murphy has left the group.
Yeah, exactly. And then let that speak for itself. Jake Newberry, welcome to season 2 of One Chimp and Friends. How you doing, buddy?
Season 2, wow.
Yeah, this
Been a
is
while,
Yeah,
isn't
well,
it?
yeah, it has been a while. Has been a while. And I never wrote the the bossa nova theme song for season 2. I tried, I learned chords, and then I just, I had a heart attack. So I
yes,
Well, you
ladies
just
and
guys,
gentlemen,
I
Our
decided to
host
do what
had a
George
heart
did.
attack.
Yeah, I decided to do what George did and have a heart attack. So
I just want to say, out of the 4 chimps, Martin's had a heart attack, George has had a heart attack, and
2
Jake has had
left.
COVID. But
Yeah,
Peter William Murphy, as
suffering from
fit
impotence.
as fit as a fiddle, may I say, as fit as a fiddle.
Except for the erectile dysfunction, Peter is fit as a
Who
fiddle.
about that? Who told you about that? I just want to know who told you.
I just want to know who told you. Well, it's a
Because
short list.
That
It's a short
That
list.
bitch has to die. That bitch has to die. Let that get out of the world.
No,
You
I've
know what happened
become
to those Thai girls last year?
I've become a member of the largest club in the world, 300 million people with arterial sclerosis, cardiovascular disease. Yeah.
Nah, the COVID club must be bigger. Like people who've had COVID, surely.
Oh, I know, but I mean, this is an ongoing
Yeah.
disease, is what I'm saying. Like I will be a lifelong member of this, however
Yes.
long that is. I will be, unfortunately. And it's kind of funny because, intuitively, I knew during the pandemic with weight gain, sitting on my ass, I knew I needed to join the gym. I knew I needed to lose weight. I knew I needed to improve my diet. And I had been doing all of those things. But it still came and knocked at my door. So it's kind of a lesson for everybody out there in YouTube and Anchor land that, COVID has, like I said, a lot of people have had heart attacks during this pandemic. And I remember it was difficult for me to get my follow-up appointment with the doctor after I was released from the hospital because people kept getting heart attacks and the doctor had to scrub all of his scheduled appointments so that he could go into the operating theater and take care of all the heart attack. One day I went there and I was scheduled to have my appointment and they came back to me and they said, "We're sorry, but somebody just came in with a heart attack. And so the doctor has to attend to him. It'll probably be about an hour." I said, "No sweat." So I sat in a cafe and had a soup and a salad. And then the woman came back to me and she said, "I'm sorry, but 3 more people came in with heart attacks. So he's not going to be able to see you today." And I'm like, geez, Louise. So yeah, it's a real thing. And, my boss's mother had a heart attack and turns out that we share the same doctor. So he's in demand. Yeah. He's in demand. It's funny because she and I shared the same lawyer. That's how I found out about the job and got the job. And now we have the same cardiologist. So
Did you have to go back and see him? Or?
Yeah, I have. I've gone back to see him. I won't see him again for 3 months and then probably 6 months after that. I'm on 4 different medications. But I feel perfectly fine. I feel fit. I feel just as good as I did before. I don't have any of the discomfort that you experience in the days or week after. That all went away, and I feel just fine. I've done some working out. I've done some running even, and I don't feel any problems. It's just one of those things where, when I did have the appointment, he told me that, I basically have the problem of an athlete heart where I really shouldn't be trying to exercise too hard because the heart walls are thicker than they should be. But that's not the reason I had the heart attack. The reason I had the heart attack was because of blood clots. So,
Jake, you know who saved his life?
I think it was you, wasn't it?
Well, the doctor. But before the doctor got to him, all right, he was on the bus like this, okay? And I got on the bus, I gave him a nod, and he just looked at me and then looked forward. Okay, and I says, "Okay, he's on the speaking mood today." I understand. Yeah. I understand. So anyway, I'm listening to music. Next thing I just hear this like, Peter. And I'm like,
I didn't say it twice.
Yeah, what's up? Like, I need to get to a hospital. And I'm like, well, okay. Are you okay? He's like, I need to get to a hospital. He just goes back like this. And he's like,
Oh, fucking hell.
and he started like, not to recreate it, but like, I was just like, fuck, you know? And
Oh,
I
were
was
you
trying to
doing
say,
on the way
huh?
there? And were you like that?
No,
were you,
no,
or-
not, that's not what happened at all. I
Dude,
said,
I was like this, like, Martin, go,
I said,
go.
Peter, I need to go to a hospital immediately.
Yeah.
And I, you know, I tried to punctuate that last word so he knew it wasn't a joke. And
Yeah, he
then
was like, I need to go to the hospital immediately. I'm like, oh, okay, immediately. Then let's go, you fucking
yeah,
prima donna.
yeah, and they did. They got me there in like 7 minutes or something.
Oh, good, good.
But I changed my seat. I was sitting in a seat, and then I went to the back row of seats so I could lay down. I said I need to lay down.
Jake, I said to him, I said, Martin, John and I are going to carry you off the bus. He stands like, he's like, over my dead body.
Yeah, I was like, "There's no way I'm letting you carry me out and drop me
So I was
on the
relieved
ground
that
like
you said
100
that. I was like,
kilograms."
how the fuck are we going to carry this monstrosity?
Yeah, so I walked in. I walked into the hospital. They had, you know, their arms under each of my arms, and we walked right in and walked down the hall, and there was a bed waiting there for me. So I just laid down on the bed, and doctors took over. And yeah, it was.
How long did you wait?
Oh, there was no waiting. I was rushed immediately into the emergency, yeah. I mean, it was like I looked at the clock, and I got there at 8:06 in the morning, and they immediately had me in the operating theater, and they, you know, it seemed like only a couple
You
minutes.
didn't know it was a heart attack, Anna, did you?
No,
You
I thought
were
something was wrong with my lungs.
So when they asked you what's going on, and you said,
I don't
like,
remember them asking me exactly what was going on. I just remember they started taking off my clothes.
Sorry, 1 minute. One sec. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You remember the nurse?
Huh?
You remember the nurse?
Yeah, I remember they were taking off my shirt, my jacket, my tie, my sweater, and then the nurse started to unbuckle my pants, and I was like, oh, those too. And
Yeah.
The pants came off, and then the underwear came off, and I was like, okay, wait a minute. My problem is not there. It's up here.
Yeah.
It's up here.
No. Laser.
And yeah, female nurses too. So that kind of freaked me out a little bit. I was like, well, I don't know that they would do that. Well, I guess maybe they do. I've never had this kind of problem before. Yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. That one, unbelievable. I really thank God for that one, because like I was just, it was the only thing for me to think about when I was there, you know? Like it was a long fucking day.
Yeah, that was,
Right,
you were there quite a long time. I you know, it was real mensch of you to stay there that long, because
but it's one of those things. It's kind of like, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, well, I can't leave now.
the thing that freaked me out though was after the second procedure. So they installed one stent, and then a few hours later realized they need to install a second one. So when I was taken back to ICU and I woke up, and I was naked in bed, and my department head, my boss, was standing there in the room. And that was quite surprising. And even more surprising that she didn't like make any effort to cover me. And I was like, that's kind of disturbing. How long has she been standing there analyzing my anatomy? So I was a little bit freaked out about that. And then the next time I woke up, because I finally got sleep, and the next time I woke up, then my vice principal for 11th and 12th graders was standing in the room. Now, that really was like a strange sight, because he and I never talk. And there he was standing there in my room, and it's almost like you're dreaming or something. And my joke was, he was just trying to confirm. He's like, he's not here today. today he teaches all the 11th graders. Where the hell is he? Well, he's in the hospital.
Yeah.
I understand he's had a heart attack. Well, let me just find out for myself. So it was
Yeah.
it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It was kind of funny. Yeah, there was
God.
you know, a lot of well-wishers. That's one thing, you know, that's kind of sweet, is that despite the fact I am kind of cold and don't talk to a whole lot of people at my job, there were a lot of well-wishers that came out and visited and stayed quite a long time. As I was saying, Peter was there all day into the night.
Jake,
So
I didn't like it.
No,
I didn't
come
like
on.
it, Jake. Because like for like the 2 or 3 days like after he got out of the hospital, he came back to school. He was like one of those fucking born again Christians, you know? Like, hey guys, like, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? No,
Did you
do this,
change it?
man.
I
No,
don't know.
no.
Yeah,
I had
sounded
gifts.
No, he's back to normal now.
I had gifts. I had gifts for my department and the ladies that share the same office. They're in different department, but they sent me flowers, and so, you know, I felt. And then I was going to buy a bunch of stuff for the department that Peter's in, and then I talked myself out of it. I was like, where does it end? I mean, and I'm already broke because they only pay. That's the other thing that kind of pissed me off, was that as I didn't work for 20 days in recovery, they only paid me half a month's salary. So this is the first time I've ever spent my entire salary. And a lot of it was on Christmas gifts. So, you know, I just picked the wrong time to have a heart attack. But speaking of salary, so the Turkish government passed a law that the minimum wage is increased by 50%. Ergo, our salaries are supposed to be increased by 50%, but Peter just got a message that they're apparently only increasing ours 10%. So I find that very interesting, because 10% is still 20% less than the inflation that we're experiencing right now. You know, so that's
just taking a pay cut, isn't it?
Well, it's just, you know, they're supposed to be increasing our salary.
To match inflation, isn't it?
Every year I get around a 10% bump anyway.
Yeah, or more, yeah.
Or more. So it's just kind of like,
yeah.
No,
I don't really understand. I'm hoping that that's kind of a joke. I'm hoping that in actual fact, because it's the law, there's no way around it. And, you know, I would hate to have to litigate against my present employer because they're not following the law.
What's student numbers like?
What's that?
What's the business like anyway there? Is it good, or like, you know,
well, I guess a lot of students are leaving.
There's too many students. We need to.
You think so? Like going to public.
So they're raising the prices. So
as a matter of fact, for the first time ever, we were supposed to have a seminar a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. We were supposed to have a seminar for 8th graders that are moving into high school next year. And the seminar was supposed to be kind of a sales pitch. It was supposed to be a way to try and persuade those 8th graders to stay at our school for high school instead of migrating elsewhere to a couple of other schools that are quite competitive. But then they canceled the seminar at the last minute, and I'm not sure the reason why they canceled the seminar. But that's a pretty desperate move on the part of the school for us to have a seminar to try and persuade 8th graders to maintain their, you know.
But listen,
yeah, no,
speaking of in inflation, like, I mean, you know, we were talking yesterday, Martin, like how I anyway, and you too, I guess, had all these plans for the new year. When we were talking last year, I was saying like, look, new apartment. I'm thinking about even buying an apartment. Going to get all this new equipment for the band.
My rent's gone up. Yeah.
Right. And now I like refuse to buy toilet paper because I think it's too expensive. You know what I mean?
How much is toilet paper now,
Oh, God.
For a good box, I mean, it's nearly 100 lira.
Yeah, exactly.
300 lira.
100.
Yeah, 100 is still like,
yeah.
what the hell?
It's
like,
like
and people might
more
just kind of
expensive
say,
than a
so
book.
What? Oh yeah, but people might say, oh, so what, like $8 or whatever like that. But you can get toilet paper in Ireland for like €2 or like €1. Okay. Like if you go to Aldi or something like that. But it's not just that. The milk is now between 15 and 20 lira. And
Yeah.
you might say, hey, so what? Like that's still only like €2 or
Yeah,
€2
but it's the wage
But,
over there,
but
isn't
it's
it? Do you know
no,
what I
but it's
mean?
also kind of like, well, actually, you can get milk in Ireland for 99p, and for
Yeah.
good milk in expensive shops, it's 150. Fair enough, but it's still too much, And it's a cube, and then it's like the beer is like, it's like people don't understand in Turkey. It's like, yeah, you can get the cheap shit, but like, what happens when the places where you get the cheap shit normally now become no longer cheap shit, become normal, and the
Well,
normal shit becomes super expensive, and the super expensive stuff is like goodbye. What do you do then?
Yeah,
It's all about developing markets.
my
well,
concern is
bread's
that
increasing in price, isn't it?
as they raise salaries, businesses are going to raise prices. And I think it's going to be very difficult to see those prices come back down. Because once the population gets used to bearing these new price points, how could you convince a corporation to lower their prices? They're like, well, we've just been through 6 months where everybody's been paying 40% more. So now you expect us to just voluntarily lower the prices? No, the people have already proven they can bear the hardship. So we're just going to profit off of it.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
is
yeah.
like what's the price of bread now in Turkey?
I don't know. I don't eat bread, but like I think
Dolmuş
it's
is
about
450 though, Jake. It's
that
450 to
that
ride a
now
Dolmuş now,
450. So
which is
Jake,
as
remember like
expensive as the bus was once upon a time.
Yeah.
Jake,
Oh.
remember like the chump change you would have on like your counter, and you just grab a few lira
Yeah.
and that'd be your Danish money. Now, man, I've got a load of change right there, and it's
Yeah.
like that's like barely a one-way trip,
Yeah.
I noticed there when I was there last, which was like last summer, water was more expensive. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like 2 lira for a bottle, and I remember it being
Right.
like 50 kurush.
Yeah,
That was
exactly. It
crazy.
used to be 50 kurush all day long, and then it went to a lira, and I was like, oh my God, they doubled the price of water. And now, yeah, I shudder to think what it's like. It's
Oh, but
really,
sure,
I
that
remember when I
burger.
first went there, I bought sports shoes, trainers for 200 lira, and they were like Nike and stuff.
oh, you can't do that now. You can't even, the
I know.
Nike shop,
Yeah.
there is nothing in the Nike shop less than at least 1,000 lira. And you cannot buy a set of Nikes for less than 1,000 lira. As a matter of fact, you can't even buy a set of Nikes for 1,000 lira because they're more like 1,300, 1,800, 2,200 lira. Straight up. Straight up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
like,
Yeah.
like
this shitty,
this shirt, which you can see through, right? Like, see if I can do. You can see through this shirt. This shirt
Yeah,
was
yeah.
300 lira. 300 lira, and it's tissue paper. It's made out of like recycled plastic. So plastic people threw away. Nike turns into a thread, turns it into a textile, and it's 300 lira. This would have been 50 lira just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it's nuts, man.
Yeah.
It's really nuts. And as I told you before in the pre-game, it's like you can't even like name names or even talk about anything anymore because like we all want to say, like it's because of this policy or that policy, but like sure, even on this little thing now, I'd be afraid to say anything. Like it's getting really strange. Like,
well, my concern is that if you're trying to, I think it's very generous for, a philosophy to keep prices low because it's for the people, right? Like, so the cost of borrowing money is low because why should, and I totally get that. That's like a very magnanimous kind of gesture to do, right? But if that is at the expense of inflation, where I'm spending more money at the grocery store in one trip than I would pay on my credit card interest rate for a year, then it's turned on its head, isn't it? Because I didn't even have credit cards, so I don't have to worry about interest payments. But I'm definitely paying out the nose in inflation. My rent's gone up 250 lira. Everything is gone up. Everything's gone up.
What are pubs and restaurants like? Do you know what I mean?
I couldn't tell you because I won't go. What are you going to do?
Of course, yeah, but like,
I'll tell you, Jake,
I'm wondering how those businesses are doing.
110 lira for a hamburger.
This is what it's like, all right, Jake. I went out with a mate of mine, and now when the two of us meet up to go out, it's no hold barred, okay? Like, we're not doing anything crazy. We're like, look, we're going to get what we want, all right? Because we only meet up once a month. All right, but after our meal in the place, and it's a well-known establishment around here, we said, hey, we're going to get the best meat on the menu. All right, he goes, yeah, we're going to get the best one, the top. All right, it was fucking expensive. Dude, it was like eating, like, it was like when you get the really shit butcher meat that he gives to the dog. You know what I mean? Chewy, you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, I was saying to him, I was like, look, dude, I don't mind the price increase. Because, like, look, once a month I can do it, okay? I mean, twice a month I can do it, all right? But the quality has to match it.
Yeah.
Like, the price can't go up and the quality go out the window. Then you have all these teenagers running around serving you, and you ask them for an Irish coffee, which was about 50 lira, okay? I mean, an Irish coffee at most outside of Dublin would cost you, say, €4, €350. Like, it's not that expensive. Well, more than 350. It'd be about €4 or €5, okay? If you get in a good spot. But anyway, there's no cream. They just gave you a coffee with the whiskey in it. No brown sugar, no nothing. And it's just kind of like, this is shit, you know? And I said it to Martin. It was like, it's because everyone now knows the jig is up. So everyone's just getting the burger overpriced, but they're getting the burger and they're getting the beer because they know you can't really fuck that up, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what everyone's just content with now, you know? And I know I sound a bit snobby, but it's like, no, if you're going out, because I don't go out that often, if you go out, you want to get something, you know? And
you work hard, you deserve that. You deserve
they have the plant-based Whopper at Burger King. So
I tried that. It's nice.
I got down with that as like the second day they started selling it, and it was like 39 lira for a meal deal of fries, a Coke, and the burger, right? 4 days later, I decided to get one again, order one to be delivered, and the price had gone up it had gone up another 3 or 4 lira. And I was like, geez, they just raised the price. Then a week later, I got another one, and now it's 50 lira for a burger, fries, and a Coke.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the thing is people do the math and they say, well, 50 lira, that's chump change in my currency. Well, yes, but traditionally in Turkey, whatever you pay in lira is what you would pay in euros or pounds or dollars. Like if you went to the grocery store and bought 50 pounds of groceries, and you were here in Turkey and bought 50 lira of groceries, you'd be carrying out the same number of bags, whether you were in, London, or whether you were. And so the value doesn't really matter unless you talk about exchange rates, right? But now it's just gone. I almost feel like it's 1936 and people are paying 1 million Deutschmarks for a loaf of bread. That it's starting to feel a little bit like before Hitler took power.
Yeah. And then, of course, you have the work kind of like the work saying, you calm down through this always happens. It's like, well, that's not a good argument for one to want to say. If you kind of say, oh, well, don't worry, this always happens. Like, that's not what I want to hear.
Yeah, so now we're finding out we're only going to get a 10% pay rise, but the Turkish law is a 50% pay rise. So that makes sense to me. I don't understand that.
Stop. But sure, look, and then you have the thing going on in Ukraine as well, like, and that's only going to add to the gas prices as well if something happens with Russia.
Well, that's right. If they do sanctions, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
But, I feel like Putin needs his ass kicked, so he'll get removed from power. Russia hasn't won a war in more than 100 years. They think that they can win a war. You haven't won a war. Listen, when you go to the NBA finals, when you go to the Champions League finals, when you go to the World Cup finals, if you've never been in the finals before, you were definitely not winning, because you need that experience to be in the playoffs. You need that experience to be in the finals. You just don't win the first time you go, like a Cinderella story. It doesn't happen.
World War II doesn't count.
So,
World War II doesn't count.
So no, they didn't win World War II. They had their ass handed to them. The only reason why they survived World War II was because they were allies with the United States. And if it hadn't been for the if it had
no.
If it hadn't
Stalingrad,
been,
they gave the most
Stalin.
blood.
Listen. That
They
was the
gave
Russian winter.
blood in
And
that
guess
war.
what?
I mean,
And guess what? Russia did not defeat Germany there. Germany was still in the fight.
No, I think Stalingrad, that whole line. I mean, think about like in Leningrad, for example, people that the Soviet population in Leningrad,
Listen,
they were eating each other. Do you know what I
that
mean? They
history,
were
yeah,
and
that
they
history,
didn't give out.
that
Stalingrad was a bloodbath. Do you know what I mean? The Battle of Moscow as well, and
yeah.
But
Russia hasn't won a war
here's the
in
thing,
100 years.
If it wasn't for Soviets, the Nazis would have had all their attention on Britain, and in the Battle of Britain, you know, we were like a day away from losing that. And then if we lost our air force, then Operation Sea Lion would commence, and where would America go? How could America, like, without having Britain, do you know what I mean, land an invasion of Europe across the Atlantic? It'd be a much more difficult thing. But
what I'm
because
saying,
the Soviets took up so much, you know.
What I'm saying is that Russia has no experience winning a war in the modern era. Zero. They have zero experience winning a war. Therefore, they're not going to win the next war that they pick, right? It's just not going to happen. And in the case
you say the modern era. When's the modern era?
20th century.
I'd say they'd have. Well, yeah, but like I say, like let's say 21st century, they've had much better success in the West, unfortunately.
Oh, they're a paper bear. They're a paper bear
successfully. They got,
but that's not a war. That wasn't a war. Yeah, they marched into Crimea and they took it.
And Crimea is a really valuable piece of land. I'm not defending Putin or anything like that, but I'm saying, like, in our track record as the West, we've lost Afghanistan, we lost the Iraq
So did
war.
Russia, by the way.
Well, with Afghanistan.
Yeah.
But they weren't really involved, were they? Do you know what
yes,
I mean?
They were in Afghanistan for several
not
years.
As committed as the West. It was the West's thing, you know. It was sorry. I thought you meant this war. Sorry.
Yeah, no. We weren't really committed to winning Afghanistan, because if we really wanted to win Afghanistan, we would have turned it to glass. We would have leveled all those mountains and we would have turned it to glass. But we didn't want to.
You just see what the Americans did to Japan.
What about the Irish? What about the Irish fishermen? Now that's the interesting bit I wanted to talk about. So Russia is planning naval exercises using live artillery, and they're going to do it in Irish fishing waters. And so the Irish fishermen have banded together and they've made this press release that they're going to be in those fishing waters to interrupt the naval exercises that Russia plans on conducting. It starts now, by the way. And they say that every time an Irish fishing boat needs to return to harbor, another one's going to go out. So there'll be a constant, consistent presence there. And they said their presence there is going to be the protest. And what Russia's been doing is they've been sending this boat around in those waters, and they suspect that that boat is capable, because it can deploy manned subs, that they're using that ship to sever internet cables and communication cables. And in fact, this has happened recently more than once, and it just happened again. So Russia appears to be strategically trying to disrupt NATO and disrupt global business by severing those cables that connect North America and Europe. And so this is the beginning of the chess match where the pawns are advancing across the board And so it's a very serious thing. And these people are talking about diplomacy and we need to be this and that. No, we don't. We need to smash Putin's government and his
I'm with you
military.
there. I would love
but I mean,
America to destroy Russia. I mean, no, I would.
Sorry.
I would. Not that I want to see people die or like.
We just got to smash him because he's never
I'm
going
on the
anywhere
battlefield.
unless Russia, if Russia as a nation loses a war that he starts because NATO gets together and kicks his fucking ass into the grave, they will definitely remove Putin from power if he doesn't die in the process. They definitely
Are you saying
will.
preemptive strike or?
No, I'm saying we need to not try and only pursue diplomacy because the Russian people don't respect diplomacy. They've only known the iron fist and the taste of the jackboot soul for more than 100 years of their history, right? Tsarist Russia was just as brutal as Soviet Russia was, and Putin is trying to make Soviet Union great again, right? So it's pretty clear to me that they only respect tough guys and dictators, and so you have to kill that dictator in order for the healing to begin. It's the only way.
I think we just need to have a red line, don't we?
And it should be Ukraine. That should be the red.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I thought that it was Obama's failings, to be honest. But when they went into Donetsk and they took into Crimea, that should have been a red line. But that a weakness, because you're right. This will continue, keep going on. And what's next? Taiwan?
Poland.
You know what I mean, the Chinese.
That's right.
Oh, well, I just think I guarantee you that the minute Russia go into Ukraine, China will go into Taiwan. Okay.
Yeah.
It'd be like it's too good of an opportunity. It's like, well, like half their fleet's going to be dealing with this. That is only like the Pacific fleet, you know. But to go back about to the Irish fishermen, like good luck with that because that protest. I mean, I respect it 100%, but.
No, but if you put the boats there in the water, then it disrupts the Russians plan to use live artillery. So by putting the ships in the water, you disrupt their naval exercise. Unless
I got you.
Russia's. I think that's a great protest. It's
I know it is. It is a great protest, but this is my own caveat. Well, it's fishing waters.
Yeah, it's the fish, right? It's like about 60 miles off of the coast.
240 kilometers. So it's 240 kilometers southwest of the southwest of Ireland.
Like Ireland is here, England's over here, and they're sort of down at the very edge of this. Now, look, don't get me wrong. A fishing or a trade area.
Russia has always done that around Ireland. Like the RAF always has to send out. Not that we're part of that, but because we're a neutral country, it's like the RAF who actually goes over to buzz by them. But those waters are so vast, and there ain't many islands, like, out past the Skellig.
Like that's the mackerel fishing ground where the mackerels meet and do their business.
You don't just have Irish boats there. You'll also have English boats. You'll have French fishing boats and Spanish and Portuguese fishing boats. I'm all for, but the ocean's a big place. But that it will, if they do that and they carry on with it, it will lead to an accident. And if you strike down a civilian fishing vessel that's part of a neutral country, you're fucked, basically. Okay, especially if that neutral country is like very much aligned to the UK and America and Europe. But I think about the Lusitania that went down in World War One. You know what I mean?
But that was Ireland. Yeah, so that would on the face of it seem like a very similar situation, but the Germans knew that the United States was re-equipping European forces, and there was like millions of rounds of ammunition in the hull of that boat, along with weapons. So that's why
they've never been. They've always used it because my dad's a diver, and they've always used the excuse that it's too like deep down in the sea to mount a salvage or to go explore it for historical reasons. But fuck that. The Titanic is like way deeper, and they spent a butt ton of money on that ship, and it was actually the discovery of the Titanic that made the Titanic such a big deal. The Titanic was never really a big deal pre the discovery of the Titanic. That's when everyone's imaginations awakened.
Yeah, very few people actually died on the Titanic. That's the funny thing.
But nobody really, it was in the news, but no one really gave a shit. It was just like hardcore divers and nautical men who like were really into the legend of it. But like with the Lusitania, why hasn't there been the one with Lusitania? Well, as Martin says, like the hull was full of weapons, and you know, let's just let that one lie at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not even a secret. Like, it was a secret then, but the Germans knew, and the Germans put a full-page ad in the New York Times to warn all of the civilians that planned to take that boat to Europe that if they did that, there was a very good chance the German Navy would sink that ship. And so they tried to warn all of the tourists, all the passengers, not to go on the ship. So it was forecast that they were going to sink that boat, and then they did, you know. But that's what was necessary. That was what was necessary in order to get the United States into World War I, was to sink the Lusitania, to pick that fight, because the U.S. wanted nothing to do with that. We were still recovering from the Civil War. And, you know, like, it's just a nightmare. Yeah, we got about 2 minutes left. So, yeah, this is interesting. It's been a little while. Too bad George couldn't join us.
On, like, what has happened exactly, and what do you think might happen in the quickest time as possible?
What has happened? Well,
or what will happen in the next, because we don't know if we're going to do this next week or it could be next month.
Well, I hope to do it next week.
It could be that war with Ukraine, isn't it? God,
yeah, it could be. You know, we might be spending our paycheck 2 weeks into the month. I'm supposed to go to Istanbul probably Monday, but I'm feeling a little bit of sticker shock, to be perfectly honest with you, because if they're only raising my pay 10%, fuck me dead. That's not enough.
I worked out as well, because when we were talking about inflation, I worked out the minimum wage in the UK, all right, and then I times it by 18, which would be the inflation rate, yeah. So that would be crazy, like £22,680 per month, which no one gets that, you know, I mean, that's a bit crazy. But that's what, because the prices are the same in Turkey, to have that same kind of level, I think you'd need to make oh, my maths is all over here. No, you'd have to make 22,680 lira.
Yeah,
to have that same kind of level.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. So that's what they've been telling me, is that it's north of 20,000 lira should be the minimum
to keep up with inflation. Yeah.
To keep right. That's right.
Yeah, that's it.
And not just to keep up with inflation, but to keep up with the first world global average.
Yeah, to keep up with the global average, and then the inflation, 22,680 lira should be the
I know, but
it's basically the same price.
Peter, you should be there. You should be there. I mean, like, all your like side hustles, you should be doing all right.
Oh, dude, I'm doing good, but at the same time, that money is for later in life.
I know. I want to buy a new watch, and I want to buy a new guitar. I'm putting my money in my watches, because at least, and I'm only wearing a couple of them now. All the rest of them are stored away. Okay, it's less than a minute, maybe only 30 seconds. Guys, I'm so glad to touch bases with you again. Season 2, I guess, is officially kicked off. Hopefully George will be available.
Sponsor us.